Hi, my dear friends, back with the third part. So in this part, we're going to discuss about cell membrane and certain processes. So let's start the video without wasting any time. In the cell membrane, we have its functions. What is cell membrane? We know that it is a boundary of the cell. It is outermost covering. It is also known as plasma membrane, which we have to understand. The second point is that it is also called as selective permeable membrane. Now, what is selective permeable membrane? Let's understand. Permeable means porous, right? We know it. Selective means selective. Okay. So this membrane selects what material should be prevented and what material should be taken inside. Okay, it selects. That's the reason it is known as selectively permeable membrane. It also helps in processes like diffusion, osmosis. We're going to learn about that now. And it is also composed of a bilayer of lipids and proteins. Now, you'll ask me that how are these lipids and proteins made? How are these synthesized? We're going to learn about that in the cell organelles part when we go through cytoplasm. Now, before understanding osmosis, we have to know diffusion. What exactly is diffusion? Diffusion, you could see that image. You could just visualize what is that? Higher concentration to lower concentration. That is diffusion. Now, movement of solid and gaseous molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration is nothing but your diffusion, right? The gaseous exchange does happen. Okay, just respiration is the biggest example for that. Now we know that oxygen is very higher at outside in the atmosphere, but when we breathe it out in us, we have a lot amount of carbon dioxide. When we give off also at the breathing time, we give a lot amount of carbon dioxide, but a very less amount of oxygen. That is a cycle, of course. That is, this gaseous exchange is nothing but an example of diffusion in human beings. Now, what is osmosis? Osmosis is nothing but, there it was solid and gaseous molecules, right? Here it is water molecules from high concentration to low concentration through a membrane, through a semi-permeable membrane. Diffusion, yes, it does occur sometimes through a semi-permeable membrane, but it is like, okay, it does occur, but diffusion happens in many ways. It's not only that it happens in human beings. Diffusion happens in a lot of places. So yes, it does go through semi-permeable membrane depending. And osmosis, every time it requires some semi-permeable thing so that it can pass on, right? Clear? Now, here we have an example to understand osmosis. Osmosis occurs in three solutions: hypotonic solution, hypertonic solution, isotonic solution. So we're going to understand everything one by one. Okay, so let's go through the hypotonic solution according to the point wise over here. If the medium surrounding the cell has a higher water concentration than the cell, meaning that the outside solution is very dilute, the cell will gain water by osmosis. Such a solution is known as hypotonic solution. Now, okay, that solution is hypotonic solution. Now, these water molecules are free to pass through the cell membrane from the both the sides, okay, in both the directions. But more water will come into the cell than will leave. Okay, doesn't leave. More water will come. More pressure is sort of exerted. That more water will enter. Now, the net force, the net result, the overall result is that the water enters the cell. It enters the cell, and then the cell is likely to swell up. Understanding it, let me just explain you. Now, basically here, if the medium surrounding the cell has a higher water concentration. Wait, let me insert an image so that you will understand it in a more efficient manner. Okay, I'm back. So I've inserted the image. I guess you could see over here hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic. See, in the hypotonic solution, you could see that water is moving into the cell in both the directions. Now, when it moves, when a lot of force is kept on the cell, of course, it will enter, right? Okay, when it enters, what exactly happens? The net result is that the water enters the cell. When it enters the cell, of course, it swells up. Okay, it doesn't mean that it will shrink. Here, the water content in the cell is, it's grown up. Similarly, if it's grown up, right, that's the thing. This cell, whatever it is there, it will swell up, right? Clear? Now, in the second instance or the example is regarding isotonic solution. Now, if the medium has exactly the same water concentration as a cell, matlab outside the concentration is the concentration of water is same, inside the cell the concentration of water is same. Okay, there would be no net force. The force over there is equal, the force over here is equal. It wouldn't enter, it wouldn't uh, you know it wouldn't enter or it wouldn't give off, right? So when the situation is in such a way, of course there is no loss of water or there is no gain of water. It wouldn't shrink or neither it will swell up, right? This solution is nothing but your isotonic solution. Clear? Now, okay, let's move on. Water crosses the cell membrane in both the directions, but the amount is going in the amount going is the same as the amount going out. So there is no overall movement of water. The cell will stay same size. Clear? Like whatever amount of water is there which is going out, it's and whatever the amount of water which is coming inside is same. The force, the what do I say that? Like the movement of both the in and out is same here. It's not being dominated by one or other. Like in is not dominating out or out is not dominating in. There is equal force, equal net force. Clear? Now let's get on with the third example. If the medium has a lower concentration of water than the cell, meaning that it is a very concentrated solution, okay, the cell will lose water by osmosis. Such a solution is known as hypertonic solution. Again, water crosses the cell membrane in both the directions, but this time more water leaves the cell than enters it. Therefore, the cell will shrink. Okay. So if the medium has a low concentration of water. Now cell is big, the concentration of water is low. Clear? Now it means that it is very concentrated solution. The solution which is there, it's very concentrated solution. The cell will lose water by osmosis. Okay, you can see over there in the hypertonic solution, the water coming out of the cell. So this instance occurs, right? Again, of course, see, basically the major thing is that this water moves on in both the directions, but it depends, it varies in these three instances, in these three examples. Okay, and this cell will again lose water, right? It will lose water and it will shrink. Whereas in the first case, in the hypotonic solution, it swells up. Here, it shrinks. So these are certain cases of diffusion, which makes osmosis, or nothing but your water diffusion, osmosis, which makes it more, of course, osmosis is a very important process at this time. It occurs in daily life too, of course. Yeah, it does occur. But the only thing is that, see, you could see over here, osmosis is a special case of diffusion. It's just given so that we can understand it in a more efficient manner. So osmosis is a special case of diffusion, okay, that occurs through a selectively permeable membrane or a semi-permeable membrane, whatever, right? Clear with this cell membrane topic? I hope so you're clear. If you have any doubts regarding this topic, please message in that comment section. I haven't mentioned, I guess, in my previous videos. Please message, so I will try to figure it out. Okay, I hope you understood. Thank you. Signing off, Agastya.